I just bought this giant cargo van. So today, let's talk about what are my plans for it. Why did I purchase a cargo van? I want to talk about convenience of a van versus using a truck and trailer. For years, many years, I've been transporting motorcycles, and you guys know what I do for a living. I review motorcycles, which means I'm always picking them up and dropping them off. I also have my own personal motorcycles that I like to go on rides with, and sometimes maybe transport to rallies or go somewhere and go camping. So for years, I've been using pickup trucks, and normally I've been putting the motorcycles in either an enclosed cargo trailer or like an open utility trailer. So talking about the convenience factor of a van versus the truck and trailer setup. So with the van, obviously you can put motorcycles inside the van, locked inside a weather-tight, somewhat secure space, and you don't have to be towing a trailer. Now here in California, that's a big deal because when we tow in California, we have to go very, very slow. There's a different speed limit. We also cannot use like the express toll lanes. And for me, going back and forth to Los Angeles and Orange County all the time, that's a real big problem when I'm towing the trailers. It costs me an hour or two every single time I do that because I can't use the express lanes. The other thing about a van is obviously security. Now, security is always kind of a bit of a myth, right? Because somebody can break into anything and they can steal your stuff if they really want to. But at least there's a little bit more security than having your bikes on an open trailer or an open hitch carrier or in the back of a pickup truck where everybody can just see them. Having a van like this allows you to haul motorcycles inside and go to different places to ride. And it also allows you, if you want, to be able to camp inside the vehicle. So I'll talk about some of my planned upgrades for this to allow me to camp inside of it, but to have one vehicle without a trailer that you can put motorcycles into, up to probably 3 bikes. You can see with the Honda in here, there's still a ton of room left. So easily 2 big adventure bikes, maybe 3 on a squeeze. And then even if you had like 2 really big Harleys, you could fit 2 big Harleys in here, or something like 2 Gold Wings. Plenty of room for that. So what are the pros and cons of this sort of versus a truck and trailer setup? Well, the pros are, we already talked about one, which is you don't have to tow anything. It's also easier to park. So this vehicle is about 20 feet long, just under 20 feet long. With my truck and an enclosed trailer, I'm easily 35 to 40 feet long with a setup like that. So getting in and out of any sort of parking situation, especially in an urban area, can be very, very challenging. We talked about the security factor, although that's always a bit of a myth, I suppose, but it seems like you do at least have a little bit better security and your bikes are out of the weather and out of the sight of everybody. The other pro is that you can kind of use this as an enclosed camping area or an area to hang out, like I'm out here right now, kind of out in the forest, and you can kind of hang out in here. It's kind of cool. What are the downsides of choosing a setup like this? Well, there's quite a few. One is that it's a lot more expensive to do this because, and the reason I say that is, not only are vans kind of expensive in general, although so are pickup trucks, obviously, but if you're buying this as a second or third vehicle, because you're probably honestly not going to want to daily drive something like this, that makes it a pretty expensive proposition versus just getting a cheap trailer or hitch carrier or putting the bikes in the back of your truck. So this is going to be for enthusiasts who are really passionate about what you're doing, or you have specific needs. You're always going to track days, you're always going to rallies or something where you need a space like this. The other downside is, and I'll show you this in the drive, is they are very loud inside when you're driving. Now, I have already ordered and will be installing a full insulation wrap kit for the inside of the van. So all the panels will be covered with insulation and sound deadening materials, including the floor and the wheel wells. And that's going to make things a whole lot quieter and less echoey while we're driving. Also, you notice this van did not come with a cargo partition. There's pros and cons to having the cargo partition in a van. The pros are it can isolate some of the noise from the back, and it's also a safety kind of feature. If the bikes were to go flying forward in like a collision, you kind of have that security feature there of that partition. The downsides are you can't see your bikes if they're secure, if the straps are doing well, and it's a lot harder to get from the driving area back into the cargo area for ease of unloading and loading or tightening things or just seeing what's behind you or getting between those two spaces. You'd have to go outside and then come into the back unless you got one of those partitions with the door. But my van does not have a partition. I'm not planning to add one, but I could always change my mind later. Another downside to something like this, we kind of already touched on this, it's not really a very good daily driver. You're not going to replace your sedan or your pickup truck really with something like this, unless you really, really like the van. Another downside is, especially if you get a tall roof version like I did, which was a must for me because I want to be able to stand up inside. This is well over 6 feet tall inside, so I don't have to duck. I have plenty of headroom. But the downside to that is you've got a pretty high profile vehicle driving in high crosswinds. Windy areas can be a little bit frightening. And then for parking, you're not going to go in a parking garage, obviously, like you would with a pickup truck. Although I guess if you had a motorcycle in your pickup truck sticking out above the top, you wouldn't be able to either. And I've been in that situation. But yeah, the height is something to consider. Don't pull into any really low-hanging gas stations where they have those low roofs, or hotel parking lots. Just be careful with the extra height. A huge shout out to Law Tigers and their nationwide network of motorcycle lawyers for sponsoring today's video. Law Tigers has been supporting Big Rock Moto for 18 months continuously now, and I'm really grateful for that. The biggest mistake you can make if you're in a motorcycle accident is to not contact an attorney. Insurance companies are sadly not on your side, and you're going to need an attorney to fight for you. The cool thing about Law Tigers is they only get paid if you do, and there's no upfront cost to hire them. So remember, always contact an attorney before you start negotiating with your insurance company. Law Tigers has been in business for over 20 years, and they really support our riding community. Their contact information is going to be below. Thank you so much again to Law Tigers for sponsoring this episode. Now, some of you have asked why a Promaster van. So there are a number of reasons. One is to do with pricing. So on the used market, the pricing for these is really quite reasonable. Now, this van behind me has a window sticker MSRP, and I know because I have the window sticker, of $54,000. But I didn't buy it new. I bought it about a year old with about 25,000 miles on it, and I paid $35,000. So that's a huge savings versus buying new. It's still a lot of money, but compared to a Sprinter van at $60,000 to $90,000 for an empty Sprinter van, this is quite the bargain. Comparing this to and cross-shopping this with Ford Sprinter and Ford Transit and Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, cross-shopping it with those, the Promaster is unique in that it is front-wheel drive. So there's no drive shaft running underneath, meaning you get a lower load floor. It makes loading the motorcycles easier. I can actually do this with one ramp, whereas I never do that with a pickup truck. I always have to have a second ramp to walk up, or a really good step or something like that. I did order a step ramp, which is that combination thing. I'll probably be using that for the van. Rocky Mountain is sending that out, so thanks to them. And anyway, but yes, it is a pretty low load floor compared to some of the other vans out there, especially to the four-wheel drive vans. Now, the Promaster is also wider inside than either the Transit or the Sprinter, and it has more of a straight wall up and down, which makes building out the inside of the van, if you want to do camping or cabinets or anything you're putting inside, much easier than more of the curved walls of the Sprinter, and also even the Transit. Also, compared to Transit and Sprinter, the Promasters cost less, especially on a used market. Another comparison point to Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, which is going to be a diesel-powered van. Well, the good thing about diesel is you've got a lot of low-end torque, you've got good fuel economy, and if you take care of them really well and you luck out with reliability, those engines can last a long time in theory. But the gas engine in this van is cheaper to fuel. Fuel is much cheaper than diesel these days, cheaper to maintain by far, and cheaper to repair. If something goes wrong with this, it's way cheaper to fix than anything that goes wrong with the diesel engine in the Sprinter. There's a lot of horror stories with that. Now, these newer Promasters, I'm talking about 2022 and later, so this being a 2025, these newer ones are vastly improved. They really redesigned the van quite extensively versus the older models. The older models had a lot of problems with transmissions and engines, but especially transmissions. They had issues with water leaks going down behind the front windshield into the engine area and causing rust. They had electrical problems. The newer ones seem to be pretty well sorted out. Not perfect, but these newer ones are definitely a lot better. They've also gone to a 9-speed torque flight transmission, which is much better, way better than the 6-speed, the unreliable 6-speed unit that they used on the older ones. So they've made a lot of really good improvements. So I think a newer Promaster van is a much better bet than some of the older ones that you see out there. All right, let me take you on a little POV test drive of my luxury van here, my vinyl seats and my plastic steering wheel. Actually, this van is fairly well equipped for what they call a tradesman package. All right, so what do you first notice when you get up in here? It's really high. I love how you sit super high up because you kind of almost sit on top of the engine in this thing. The engine's kind of like down in here, really high, and really big windshield, really great view out. The front three sides here are excellent. Now, back behind me, I can't see a darn thing, and it's kind of frightening because you have a huge blind spot there. without any windows or any side cameras or anything. If you're turning in an intersection where there's like a sharp like turn, I don't know how to describe it, but you can't see anything. You also can't really see behind you because you've got no rear view mirror. But there's a backup camera, obviously, when you're backing up, which works nicely and it's wide angle. But I think I'll put some sort of permanent on rear camera like I've had on travel trailers before. So getting used to that, yeah, that's kind of a thing. The mirrors are good. They have power mirrors on both the convex lower part and the upper part. The mirrors provide a really good view. You just can't see like directly behind you as you're driving. All right, let's take this thing for a little drive. Now, I also want to say the turning radius on the van for a 20-foot vehicle, like it's really good. Like it turns tighter. Like I don't know if you can see how tight this is turning. It has a really tight turning radius, better than like a truck or something. My truck is about 19 feet long, my Tundra, I think, and this turns really, really well compared to that. All right. I'm gonna give you an acceleration run here and show you the power of the Pentastar 3.6 liter engine. Full power. Power. 45, 50, 55, 60. So see, it gets to 60 or 100 kilometers an hour really quite quickly. The power is more than adequate. The horsepower is good. I think it's around 280 horsepower or somewhere in that range. However, the torque isn't that much because it's a gas engine and you really have to kind of rev it out to get the power. The 9-speed torque flight transmission, it shifts really, really well, and it has a lot of gear ratios to choose from. So that's a huge improvement with these newer ones versus the older 6-speed units, which were very bad in terms of reliability and in terms of performance as well. I think the main thing I noticed driving the van down the highway, and it's worse the faster you go, it's just the road noise from the back. So there's just a lot of echoing and banging and sounds coming from the back of the van because I don't have the insulation panels in, I don't have the wheel liners in, I don't have the flooring in, so it's a lot of echoey metal sounds, and it's pretty loud if you're used to driving a nice newer car, having this big, echoing box behind you. So that takes some getting used to, but that's something we can fix. And then I've got cruise control, I've got adaptive cruise control, so radar following distance, which I really like because I don't usually drive like this, I usually drive in traffic, so that's a feature I really like. CarPlay, wireless, CarPlay and Android Auto, manual climate controls, but overall it's pretty easy to drive. If you can drive like an SUV, you can drive this. Other than just sort of getting used to it, you gotta remember you're really tall, so you gotta be careful of low overhangs and low gas station, things like that, and you have these blind spots, but besides that, it's really easy to drive. I'm trying to drive out here to do a little filming with the van and with this bike I've got, and we got cows. I've never seen the cows all gathered up in this spot. That's kind of interesting, but there's a whole heck of a lot of them. Looks like they've been hanging out here too by the looks of the ground. This one is like, I ain't moving. I'm not going nowhere for you, white van. Come on, buddy, let's go. Let's go. I don't want to get close. This cow is just not having it. He's just not having it. He's like, what are you doing? All right. So now we get to the part where I really kind of want to ask for your input and advice. A lot of you have done these van builds or you've researched them pretty heavily. So looking for some advice on a few things here. So the way that I need to use this van, primarily it's for hauling motorcycles around. So I know a lot of people who buy a van like this are going to be like turning it more into like a camper and then maybe have limited space for one bike, but I really can't do that unless I were to buy a second van for hauling or another setup for hauling and then turn this into a camper van. But I really need to leave the inside pretty open so I can transport 2 to 3 bikes at any time. However, I do occasionally want to be able to camp in the back of the van, so hence doing the insulation or getting some sort of temporary bed situation that I could take in and out. It would be nice to have like maybe a cabinet and a sink and a few things like that for camping. Cooking setup, but that's all portable, maybe a portable table. So I think I'm just going to end up taking stuff in and out, or just stuff almost like stuff you would take tent camping and then you can just set up and then take down when you don't need it. If you guys have suggestions for camping setups that might work for what I'm describing, please let me know. The other personal challenge that I have, and kind of unique to my situation, is I am always moving different motorcycles. So it's not like most of you probably have your 2 or 3 bikes that you have, or even one bike, and you can set up your wheel chocks and tie downs for just that particular bike. I can't do that. I am always moving different sizes and shapes of motorcycles, so I have to have universal ways to tie things down. That's why I use what you see behind me, which is E-track systems. I've always used them on my trailers. I can move the wheel chocks, I can move the tie downs wherever I need them, depending on the bikes that I'm hauling. These wheel chocks also come out completely in 2 seconds, and I can have a completely flat floor for camping or doing something else with the van. You can see we've already put, I should say, because my daughter helped me actually quite a bit with this, and all joking aside, she actually did work with me all day. She loves doing stuff like this. I'm super lucky she likes to do that kind of stuff. I'll throw some footage of that in here somewhere right now. So we put down this temporary plywood floor. It's 3/4 inch plywood. It's 3 pieces that I joined together. Fits between the wheel wells, and I have the E-track mounted on here so I can have some tie downs and some chocks that I can take in and out. Now I didn't bolt this in or screw this into the floor of the van. I didn't want to drill any holes in the van or do any permanent modifications at this point, and I'd rather never do that, honestly. I'd just rather keep the floor intact. I've already mentioned that I'm pulling off these plastic protection panels and putting in the full Durotherm liner kit for every panel in the van, which really will help with temperature control and noise and everything like that. So these kind of factory protectors will go away. You need at least some kind of protection. At least it does have this, because if you impact the inside of the van, the dent goes into the outside of the van. And you see a lot of these vans all dented up on the outside because of cargo shifting around on the inside. What did you just say?
Break time.
You need a break? It's your break time?
Yeah.
You won't give me the screws because you're on a break? Are you union now?
Yes.
Union employee?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. We just have one last one to put in down the middle here. We've got 3 E-tracks up there for different chock positions, and then this central tie down point here, which runs along down the back. Don't put your hand on the camera. Some of you have recommended the bolted on tie down system or wheel chock system. I've looked at that. That looks very promising. If this doesn't work out well for me, then that's something I'll be looking at. There's other kinds of tie down systems, but some of the ones that attach to the foot pegs, I don't think that's going to work for me. Those are really for just off-road bikes. They'd work for this Honda, but they wouldn't work for a lot of the other bikes that I have to transport. If you have suggestions on camping gear that I could take in and out, or any sort of tie-down systems, or any other van build tips that you have for my situation, I would greatly appreciate that. We did put on this backseat organizer with these MOLLE attachment bags. They're really great for organizing stuff. Then I've got good storage up here. I've got some of the window insulation things that go in the windows when you want to keep the heat out or keep the light out. Got all my tie downs up here, so it's nice to have that storage. Another thing I have is at home I have upgraded speakers. I'm putting in, the stock speakers suck, so for less than $100 on Crutchfield, I got an upgraded speaker system that comes with the wires and everything, so I'll be changing those out as soon as I can. Great, I've got some kicker speakers here from Crutchfield, the harnesses. Pull these little grills off, try to get these new speakers installed. I also changed the cabin air filter. The one that was in there was fairly dirty. I mean, you could still use it, but better cabin filtration, change that out. It's like 10 bucks, so that's a good thing to do. Let me know your thoughts on maybe putting on a larger tire, maybe with a little bit better tread for maybe some more slippery conditions, and maybe even putting a lift kit. I know there's pros and cons to the lift kits on these, but maybe having another couple inches of clearance. The ground clearance on these is a little bit scary when I'm out here on the dirt roads and stuff, which I'm not going to do a whole lot of, but I don't know, let me know your thoughts on that. All right, well, as I always say, stay tuned because this is just the beginning for this. We'll see how this goes. You know, I don't know what to expect. I am okay if this doesn't work. If I don't like it in a year, I'm fine. I will sell it and move on, get something else, different truck, different trailer. I love testing different setups. I review things as part of what I do. It's my business. So I'm okay if it doesn't work out. It doesn't have to be perfect. I know that's not the case for many of you, but for me it is. But I'm looking forward to trying this out. It's already been very convenient for moving bikes around. And I can go places to film with bikes easier without having to hitch up a trailer and tow a trailer or put the bike in the truck. I already like it a lot, but we'll see how things go. But again, those tips and tricks that you guys have would be very helpful. Follow along for the journey. And yeah, thanks for being here. That about does it for this video. Thanks for watching. Ride safe. I'll see you out there.